Hello, Abnormal Investigations. I have an encounter I don't think any of us are going to forget anytime soon. This one, yeah, it got my attention when I read it too because, we did raise hogs at my granny and grandpa's, and there was an incident. If y'all have watched, you've heard my story. So I've got one today that involves a hog, or I guess somewhat of a hog. And this one here, I must admit, is pretty eerie. So we'll jump into it and we'll see what y'all think. Hello, Mike. I am a Marine. Most people would say that I'm a retired Marine, but as you know, Marines never retire. We're always Marines. I have something that happened to me that I cannot explain. In all my years, this is the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. No, I've not been a believer in cryptids. Haven't been for a long time. But I'll say for now that something happened that I'm not sure what it is, and it may have changed my mind and outlook on everything. I had went out to the barn to feed the pigs, and I saw something that I have no idea what it was. But it didn't cut the image that everyone has always talked about. There was something standing there. It almost looked like a human. I could see the pink skin. It had coarse hair all over its body, though, like a hog's hair. It was skinny. It wasn't overly tall, maybe 6 foot. But what I noticed is it had blood all over its shoulders and all down its chest and down the front of it. It was not dressed. Whatever it was wearing no clothes. It had the head of a hog. That scared me the most, was seeing the hog's head on it. It took off running. And when I walked into the pen, I noticed it was wearing one of my hogs' heads. As the hog laid there twitching and blood pumping out of the top of his head, it had to have just happened. I have no idea why something or someone would even do this. But it was wearing my pig's head and it ran into the field. Later on that night, as I was sitting in my recliner, wondering why in the hell somebody would do that, it then came back. It came back that night. I was watching TV, and whenever I looked at the window because I had that feeling that something was looking at me, there it was looking in the window at me. It was a pig's head, my pig's head, staring at me through the window. Now, I don't know how to explain to you the fear that ran through my fucking body, but it was something like I'd never seen. I jumped and I yelled and I screamed. And yes, I threw the remote controller at the window. It scared me so bad. It ran off, and thank God it did. But then I heard it sneaking back up to the window again before I could even get to the window to shut the blinds. I grabbed my 22 pistols that I keep beside the chair that my dad had bought me a long time ago. I unloaded that damn pistol at the face of that hog when it was looking in the window at me. It squealed like a hog. That was the weird thing. And it took off running again. I had just shot my window out. Yeah, talk about scared. I called my neighbor immediately, and he called the sheriff. I sat there and I could not wait for the sheriff to get there. My friend ended up arriving. Off in the distance of the field, we could hear something screaming that sounded like a hog, like an injured hog. Now we shined our spotlights out there, and all we could see was some red eye shine way off in the distance. We dared not walk back there after what I'd seen. The sheriff arrived probably an hour later. We live in a remote area here, and it takes the sheriff a little time to get here. We walked out to the hog pen, and I showed him the pig. We followed the blood tracks that led off into the pasture. Now the sheriff wasn't too keen about walking off into the pasture himself. He said it was too dark, he didn't have any backup, and he wasn't going to risk walking out there and running onto either something or more than one. Honestly, I couldn't blame him. He had walked back up to the house. We were sitting in the front room, and I was filling out a witness statement for him. While I was filling it out, we heard a hog at the back door. It was doing the grunting sound. He looked at me. I could tell the sheriff was scared. He said, "Can your hogs get out?" And I told him, "No, my hogs don't get out." Whatever it was had come back, and it was now at the back door. And it did not care that my friend was there and that the sheriff was there. So the sheriff looked at me, and he put his white cowboy hat on that they wear, and he told me to stay in the front room, that he was going to go to the back door and try to figure out what was going on. I have a feeling that the sheriff thought that whatever it was a human, because he started yelling, "You need to cut it out. This joke isn't funny no more, and you're going to end up getting somebody hurt." He was talking to it like whatever he was talking to would be able to understand him. I started to tell him that I don't believe it's somebody, and he kind of hushed me. I noticed that he had already drawn his .357. He was still one of the old cops that carried the old revolvers. He believed in that .357. The pig was at the back door, and I could see him listening at the back door, and he placed his hand on the handle of the door and slowly started to unlock it. I looked at my buddy. He had his .30-30. I heard the two clicks. He had cocked the hammer back on his .30-30. I had gotten my shotgun at this time, and I know that I was scared because I could feel the sweat on my hand around the handle of that shotgun. We feared that when he opened that door, it was going to get the sheriff, and then we would have to defend ourselves, because then the door would be open to the only place we had to be safe. The sheriff threw the door open, shined his flashlight out the window. The next thing we know, or out the door, sorry guys. The next thing we know, he starts screaming, drops his mag light, and just empties his pistol. Boom, 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 boom. Everything out of the pistol. He slams the door shut, falls into the dryer, and then comes running toward us, yelling, "It's not human, it's not human, it's not human. I shot it in the face and it just stood there staring at me." He then got on the radio and called for backup. The state police would later show up at our home. When we went to the back, whatever the sheriff had shot at, he had surely hit it, because there was more blood on the ground, and there was chunks of pig head where he had shot it, and chunks of the flesh and bone and all had landed in the yard. Now, they did take specimens from it, and we did get it back, and it all came back as it was my hog. It didn't come back as anything unknown or anything weird like that. But it did come back as my hog. They cleaned it up for me. I have put up lights since then, and nothing has happened. I hope that whatever that was, the sheriff either killed it or at least hurt it enough that it won't come back. Whatever it was, though, after he had shot it in the face 6 times with the .357 Magnum, it was still able to run away. But maybe the hog's head offered it some sort of protection to where it didn't hurt it. All I know is when you're looking at your window and you see a hog head looking back in you on something's head that's got wiry, brushy looking skin and hair all over it, and that pig head's looking at you in the darkest of night, that's the scariest feeling in the world. And when he opened that door and he screamed and emptied his pistol, I could tell he was scared. I asked him later what he had seen. All he ever said was it wasn't human. I know that damn thing wasn't human. It was not human. That's all he would say. I even asked him, "Do you think it was somebody that put a hog head on?" He said, "No, that was not a human wearing that hog head." He said, "I have no idea what it was." And that's all I ever found out, Mike. That's all he would ever say. I even wish I knew more. And I'll ask him and I'll hound him some more, but he doesn't seem to even want to talk about it. But I want to run this past you to see if you've heard of anybody else having this happen. I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it either, and I apologize for saying the F word. It was written in there, and I was reading, and I just read it, so I do apologize for that. Um, my grandpa said he saw a long, long time ago something was with a mama pig that was feeding, and he said it kind of looked like a pig head and kind of like a baby-looking thing that ran off. So, what are they? I don't have any idea. I don't. I hope I don't ever see one of them things, especially a baby one. Has anybody else heard of one of these? If you have, let me know. I'd be interested to know because, my grandpa seeing one and he didn't believe in this stuff either. And for him to admit that he saw it, that meant that he did see something. So I don't doubt this story. It just makes you wonder, why would something come up and cut the head off of a hog and wear it, right? And why would it look in the window? And then why would it come back knowing there was people in there? Sounds like the sheriff was a good shot, though, when he was scared, because if he was able to hit that pig head, been that scared and blow chunks off of it, he had to have at least scared it, you would think, or at least heard it. I don't know. What do you all think? Let me know in the chat. Thank you for listening, guys. I appreciate you guys, and as always, keep your head on the swivel. Don't be something's dinner, and we'll see you on the next one.
I can see you from behind. You can hear me in your mind. Run so fast as you can go. Time will catch you before you know. Are you afraid of the dark? Are you scared?